Hey, what up, you guys? How's it going? It's AP with another video, and today we're gonna talk about Genesis chapter 3. Um, this is the third chapter of this third book. The first book of the Bible, and hmm, not sure where to start off. I wrote, some notes down. Not quite sure where to start off. I wrote a couple verses down here, ones that kind of stood out. Um, the first one I would say was verse 1, where it says that the serpent was more subtle or cunning than all the animals or the beasts that God created uh, in the garden. So, so the serpent, um, uh, Satan chose to use the animal, the serpent, as the vessel to, act out his plan. Um, Verse 4 says that the serpent, he goes to the woman. Maybe he's analyzing the man and the woman, and he decides to pick the woman for whatever reason. He's cunning, and maybe because he knows that maybe he has a better shot with the woman. Maybe the man is not as easy to lie to or manipulate, so he chooses the woman, or it could just be whoever was there first. I don't know, but so I guess he tries to tell her like, "Hey, look at the tree over there. I think you should eat it, or I think it'd be a good idea." And the woman says, "No, that God strictly and clearly said that that tree is forbidden, cannot be eaten. If we do, we shall surely die." And that's when the serpent says, right here. Let's see, where does the serpent says? He says that you shall not. Oh wait. On verse 4 says you shall not surely die. But I think you shall not surely die, and he even I think he puts doubt in the woman's mind, which is say, did God really say uh, that? And the woman, like, that's where he plants the seed, just doubt. And he lies, says that you will not die, because he knows that he says that if you eat of it, God knows that on that day you shall become like him, of knowing good and evil. And Eve was, I guess, looking at the tree, and in verse 6 it says it was a tree to be desired, and it could make one wise. On verse 7 it says that both of them did eat, and that their eyes were opened. Verse 8 it says Adam and Eve hid themselves from the Lord, so they had shame because they became aware of good and evil. They ate of the fruit. So back then, when you're a child, you're running around the house, you're not ashamed of running around naked, because your mind is still so innocent, so unaware of just what's going on in the world. So when you're kids, you're running around, you're just having fun. It's hot, you take your clothes off, you're running around naked in the kitchen, in the backyard, perhaps maybe in the neighborhood. You slip away from your parents' eyesight, and you just go off naked, and you're not thinking about it because you're still so innocent. But you're not going to be doing that at age 15, right? Age 20, you're not going to be doing that. So they weren't ashamed of that. But once they ate, it's like if they became adults the very instant, and they noticed that they were naked and they were ashamed, so they hid themselves from the sight of God. So, and then on verse 13, the woman says that the serpent deceived me. You know, oh wait, first God says, like, how do you guys know you guys are naked? Did you eat off of the tree I told you guys not to eat? And then the woman says, the serpent, it deceived me. And so God says to the woman, what is this that you have done? And because God knows what's about to unfold, or what has actually been realized at that very moment. And he knows the tragedy that just occurred, the total chaos and destruction that is coming. And so he curses the serpent. He tells him, let me see, I think I wrote this down. Where is it at? Let me see, humanity had cursed. Where is it at, the serpent? Oh, so he curses the serpent. He tells him everything. Let me see, 14. So let's see it, because these are very important verses, I think. So it says, I'm just going to read the whole verse. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and the dust shalt thou eat all the days of the life. So, right here it says, let me see, 14. So, what does that mean? It just means, like, you shall crawl on your belly. It's basically like saying you were up here, you know, because Satan, or Lucifer, was a very high-ranking angel, one of the top, either number 1 or number 2, or I'm not quite sure, but he had, because there's different rankings of angels, so it's like, what is it, like, yeah, there's just different rankings, levels, positions, roles within the hierarchy in heaven. And he was one at the very highest, if not the highest levels of type of angels out there. So he was up here, and because of what he did, he got lowered all the way down. Like, his ranking was taken from him. So he went from, it means like shame, loss of honor, defeat, and humiliation. And it says that you shall eat the dust, I think, what does it say? It says dust shall thou eat all the days of your life, meaning like, you know, total defeat, you know, bow down your face to the dirt, total loss. And that's basically what it means. And I'm going to read also verse 15 completely, because it's also a very important verse in this chapter. It says, and I will put enmity, I'm not sure what the enmity, between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So this here is a very important verse, because it is like a first gospel in Christian tradition, the first prophecy of Christ, promising that a descendant of Eve will utterly defeat Satan, despite suffering a temporary wound on the cross. There will be permanent conflict between Satan and humanity, and his head will be crushed by Jesus, by the offspring of Eve, and it represents Jesus' final victory over sin, death, and the devil. So that's a very important verse right there. So we take we may lose, the battle was lost that day, but total victory is inevitable in God's um, and in God's universe, or whatever He decides to do. So there it's said, prophesies that Satan will lose. Satan will make his works, do everything he can in order to make sure that those prophecies are not fulfilled. But I mean, you can't stop whatever God has in mind, or you can't stop it. So there's nothing. He tries to, but I mean, he can try to, which is him um you know him orchestrating the physical death of Jesus Christ, but he can't avoid the inevitable, the truth of him. Once Jesus died on the cross, the mission was completed. There's nothing you can do. It's been completed, and Satan is just waiting for his final hour. So that's a very important verse. We're gonna go to 16 right here. Yeah. All right. So, in verse 16 it says, despite pain, and God also tells the woman that because of what she did, she's gonna increase the pain of childbearing. So every time she has a child, all the pain will increase. And it probably back then it used to probably be like not painful and not really much of a big deal. You didn't really struggle with too much. But now childbearing is very painful. Sometimes even the woman can die off of complications or pain, or even the child. But that was because of what was done. God told her that that's how it was, childbearing was going to be for her. And but despite pain, that pain, life would continue, and hope will be alive for the future generations. And there's another one here, so I'm gonna read another text that's very debated. It says right here, 16. Unto the woman he said what God said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow of your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children. Like what we're speaking about, that the pain would increase. It will be hard and painful. And it says, your desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over you. So that right there is what I'm trying to talk about right now, is that people interpret that. People have different interpretations of that. And I Googled it and researched what I guess the main points would be. And it says, I guess there's two main primary viewpoints or interpretations of that verse. Like the woman will want to desire to control her husband. So it says, let me see. Let me see if I could read this, because my handwriting is kind of sloppy. It says the rule battle of the sexes. So the woman will desire to dominate and control, and God predicts that the woman will instinctively try to usurp. I'm not sure if that's usurp her husband's leadership, and I'm not sure what that. Just usurp the leadership. You know how women they have like a tendency to like test men, even their husbands. Like they test them, or they try to take control, or like, oh, like I can I can change him, but they just can't end up doing it because the men, maybe they could do it for us, maybe for bits and pieces, maybe they could small things, but at the end, you're not able to control a man. At the end, that's their total desire, but they just can't do it, and it says that the husband will rule over her, so her desire will be to control the man, but at the end she will not be able to, and the man will just end up ruling over her, and either out of harshness or dominance, and it marks the tragic origin of marital friction, or modern, a modern way of saying it's like the battle of the sexes, as it's pretty famous right now. People, gender wars. I think that's what they call it, gender wars, or who's right, who's wrong, and who needs to step up, who needs to man up, who needs a real man, a real woman, and all that type of stuff. But the other one is just the desire of intimacy. Maybe she's gets pregnant, she's vulnerable, and maybe that's when the husband will rule over her, exploit, her vulnerability. That's the other viewpoint, but, that's what the text, the verse says, and you could take that however you want, but it's a very, debated verse. Now we're going to move on to verse 17, and it says, cursed is the ground, he tells the man, cursed is the ground, you shall, work hard, till the ground, sweat the sweat, you're going to be sweating for your food, for the bread. And back then it was provided for everything. You just probably had to wake up, stretch yawn, reach out, and there's food provided for us. Or we didn't have to, when we farmed, it wasn't, we didn't have to fight with the weather, or we just had perfect seasons. Probably it rained the right amount every time, and animals, cattle, beef, chicken, whatever was there, we didn't have to really work for it. And it says, as we do right now, we have to work a lot just right now just to survive, pay rent, groceries, all types of utilities. It goes on and on and on, and we're just working extremely hard just to survive right now. Back then it was probably easier, but now it's difficult, extremely difficult just to get by. And that's what it was promised to us for listening to the woman, when we should probably just said, I'm good, I'm not trying to eat it. But we listen to the woman because, us as men, we love women. We can't get enough of them. We think they're a beautiful creation. But, men listened to his wife, and we got punished for it when we should have been listening to God. Let's see. So, wrapping it all up, because I'm taking up more time than what I was aiming for. But they sinned. God kicked them out of the garden, placed them out somewhere east, so that they wouldn't have access to the tree of life. So if they were to eat it, then they would live forever. And if they would have lived forever, then it would have been bad because they have sinned. And then they would have been permanently, we as humans would have been permanently in sin with no way out. We would have been like, maybe like an example would be like Satan or Lucifer, the fallen angels, where there's completely no way out. Like we're stuck in that sinful state and separate from God. So God made sure to kick us out so that we would not live forever and there wouldn't be a way out. But he did provide a way out, and that was through, many years later, through the prophecy of Christ. And that's about it. So wrapping it up, the takeaway: when we mess up, our natural reaction or instinct may be to hide from God, but Genesis 3 shows us that God seeks us out even in our failures. So I hope you guys enjoy that video, And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.